Hello. Hello, everyone. There we go. Good evening. How is everybody? I'll give it a few minutes for people to join in before I jump into the game. For tonight, my plan is to do a couple of side quests and then move on to Noveria, where we will be doing most of the corporate espionage kind of stuff, all of the things that are interaction-y, with a little bit of action type stuff, but mostly the action will be limited to conversations and all that sort of thing. So it's mostly going to be exploring the corporate world of Noveria, talking about a lot of things to do with interestingly enough, it may come up relating to last week's Red Dead stream, having to do with private law. These ideas surrounding private law, which is, of course, I think an endlessly fascinating topic that doesn't get covered too much. So we'll probably talk about that some. Also, we'll wind up talking about, because it was brought up by WizKid, regular viewer, on somewhere on the Facebook, I don't remember exactly, talking about AI. That will have something to do with one of the side quests that we're going to go through. And on that note, is he here? WizKid, if you're here, say something in the chat so I know, so I can actually, I don't want to jump the gun on this, but,
The modern world is barbaric. The Middle Ages were the height of civilization.
Anyway, so that exists. I'll get to what that was in just a moment, and what the context for that was, and if you recognize who was speaking, then that might give an indication as to who and why I'm going to be talking about it. So, if so, great. If not, it'll eventually make sense. Maybe, who knows? So long as we're waiting, let's get into the game and see what all we're up to, see if there's anything we need to do in the local area. Okay. Welcome back. Oh yeah, I moved around a little bit. I was doing some planetary surveying between last week and this one, so we wouldn't have to do a lot of it on stream, but I didn't actually do any kind of planetary missions or anything, so there might be some ground missions that we can jump in and do. Yes! Hey WizKid, I did mention you. Here. Hang on a second. See if this rings a bell.
Shut up, boomer.
Sound like anyone? Sound like anybody in particular? Here's another good clip I have pulled.
It's never too late to get your shit together.
Yeah. What's another? Yeah. So there we go. In addition to perhaps developing a soundboard for these streams, which I probably will not have the effort to do, because as you can see, I have to exit the game in order to go to the soundboard because I don't have an overlay for it. That is roughly what we were talking about at a little while ago. So what that is, those of you who aren't aware, that is the voice of Dr. Jordan Peterson. Of internet fame, I guess you could say. However, those words did not come from Jordan Peterson. So WizKid asks, I wonder how Professor Peterson feels about those. This came out when he was still pretty public and all that, and from what I heard, he thought it was interesting more than anything else. This system should look familiar. A loud noise. Yeah, more than anything, I think he found it to be interesting. I wonder if I have to scan any of these planets. I don't think so. They all look awfully familiar. I think they've probably been scanned pretty thoroughly, especially this one. Or, yeah, infamy. Infamy might be a good way of describing Dr. Peterson. That's fair. In any case, though, there's no orbit for the turn relay. All right. In any case, though, that was a deepfake, an audio deepfake called Not Jordan Peterson. I believe it's back up. It was down for quite a while. Mostly because it was overloaded with people spamming it with trying to get things like the clips that I've been putting together. Right? I used one for my class a year or so ago. This one.
Hello and welcome to Acquisition of Knowledge. For this studio session, you'll be cleaning your damn room.
So that was one. I had quite a few of these, and I've been. Got about a dozen of them, and I used them for a few different sorts of things. But the point is the interesting part of it is not that you can get what sounds like Jordan Peterson to say anything you want him to say. The interesting part is the technology that allows you to do it, and the impact that can have on especially anything news related. Essentially how this works is it samples Tali and Liara. Who's going to be... Yeah, that's fine. But the point is that you can basically get... it samples his endless online speeches, and it takes whatever kind of phonemes that are needed for whatever sentence it's going to produce, and it just produces them. So one message that I had recorded for a friend of mine.
Happy birthday. Good luck climbing the dominance hierarchy.
That sort of thing. It's delightful. It's a lot of fun. It really there's a lot to this that might cause problems, but also might propose solutions for some of the problems that are plaguing sort of our current American media culture, if you want to call it that sort of thing. So, hey, let's go there. Oops. So, anyway, first of all, that is a delightful view. They really did a fantastic job with this. WizKid says, perfect, I need it. Yeah, I agree. It is. Yes, that is a good idea, Kylie. Use it as a ringtone. I might have to I might have to make a really good one to use as a ringtone if the thing is operational again. If you are looking for it, it is notjordanpeterson.com, and I love it. I love everything about it. I actually really enjoy how it works and everything. All of that stuff is phenomenal. It's just absolutely fascinating. The other interesting part is I am completely certain that given the amount of recorded content I have on the internet, a similar program could absolutely be made for me. And for those of you who may be on the internet a fair amount, probably the same is the case for you. And that should perhaps trouble you. Let me just bypass. Nah. Because in part, what that means is that anyone can get a recording of you saying anything they want you to say with no context. Now, I will say, with the amount of stuff I have recorded and posted online, There, if you guys want to make a robot that says things in my voice, fine. I don't have much of a problem with this. In any case, if you do so, just, try not to incriminate me for anything, I guess. That's a kind request. Kylie says, I'm still trying to figure out how to use a clip from the other live stream of yours where you go, yay, a grenade. It's my ringtone for my number. That is a fantastic idea. That is a really good one. That's a good line, I think. Like I said, I have enough recorded material online that you could just mine it for little gems like that. And the same applies even more so for Dr. Peterson, because he has dozens of hours, and then some, probably hundreds of hours of just continuous lecturing online. With anyone with that much of an online presence, you will inevitably be able to craft a program like this, or even just mine their videos for little clips. Right? And at times that can mean that there are awkward things that arise from that. Right? So, for example,
shut your damn mouth, woman.
I don't think Dr. Peterson has or probably would say such a thing, but now he has through a robot. And I used that one, I made that one in particular as an example, so that I could point out this whole, the potential problems with this, of using this kind of software to incriminate somebody. Maybe that's a bit of a strong term. Maybe I don't quite mean incriminate. But certainly make the situation awkward for somebody. Wrong way. It's down. There we go. Really? All right. But in a case like that, right? There is obviously this problem. WizKid says, oh man, imagine the Joe Rogan potential this unlocks. Wow, they could really use that against him. Yeah, they absolutely could. People have used just out-of-context clips against Joe Rogan. I know that. And again, with that much material, it's a wonder that people haven't done so more. A lot of people with a significant online presence encounter this sort of a problem. The grenade didn't work. Here. It's actually a really easy problem to encounter, this issue of having what you say be taken significantly out of context, to the extent that you're
all targets eliminated.
That it's hard to tell what the context would have been, and so because of that, it makes things incriminating that otherwise really would not need to be, that wouldn't be incriminating at all, that wouldn't even be awkward in their proper context. But when they're taken from their context like that, or worse, when they are digitally assembled, they certainly can be. Okay, so the problems with this are kind of obvious. Yeah, let's do that.
Perimeter secured.
So WizKid says it's a slippery slope because on the one hand, the humor potential is limitless, but at the same time, someone could just ruin you, and it would be nearly impossible to refute. It'd be actually really easy to refute. The problem is that it makes not just anything easy to refute, it just makes... Oh, great. Now we're all poisoned. It just makes everything unreliable, which is not that bad of a thing, really. Ultimately, Ultimately, what it does is it forces you to consider the possibility that you're being deceived. Right? It means that this kind of change just means that we are no longer as capable of simply believing everything that we hear without any kind of reflection, without a smell test, right? We have, in the last, 100 or 2 years, trained ourselves to implicitly trust anything that we see or hear on any kind of recording. The problem with that is the problem with that we see here. Right? Any kind of recording can, in theory, be faked.
All targets down.
Whether that is because whether that's by sophisticated technology like this, or even just taking something out of context, any kind of recording can be faked. The interesting thing, or what's interesting to me, is that we are finally starting to kind of, as a culture, realize that recordings can be faked. Let me ask this, sort of for the sake of context, to kind of put this in perspective. 200 years ago, early 19th century, there were... journalism did not use cameras. Certainly did not use audio recordings. And yet we have a very, very clear historical record of basically everything. Not just an historical record, but people had journalism and journalistic standards.
Negative contact, Shepard.
People heard about what was going on around them, and it wasn't like they couldn't believe anything simply on the basis of there not being reliable recorded evidence. And people knew what to believe. People were maybe not as informed as they are today, but certainly less misinformed than they are today. And it's a fine distinction, but I think it's an important one. I might need that. Probably won't, but I might. So 100 years ago, the primary way of... Let's heal. There it is. The primary way we had of figuring out whether something was true is figuring out if it seemed true or not. Right? If something is implausible. 100 years ago, or especially more like 150, 200 years ago, people simply would not have believed it. However, nowadays, if something seems implausible, but there is a recording of it, then people are far more likely to believe that it really happened. Right? So, I mean, obvious example is what I just played. If you did not know the context of what I was talking about, there's a good chance that you would believe that Jordan Peterson had said...
Happy birthday.
Oh.
Good luck, climb.
Not that one. This one.
Shut your damn mouth, woman.
You know, if there's a fair chance that you would have believed that Jordan Peterson had that, or something like this.
Shut up, boomer.
Which, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? That'd be a good clip to have. This one's personally my favorite, in part because it actually seems relatively plausible for him to have said.
The modern world is barbaric. The Middle Ages were the height of civilization.
That seems at least a bit in line with some of the things that he has said. In any case, though, right, so my point is that, 150, 200 years ago, or more, we didn't have the kinds of technology that we have today, which allows us to record basically everything that anyone ever does, and which allows us to rely exclusively on recorded testimony, right? Rely on equivalent to eyewitness reporting, but without having to rely on a fallible human being. We can rely on a recording, right? We can rely on an audio or video recording. Okay. But what if we can't? What if we can't rely on an audio or video recording? What if it gets to the point, and one could argue that it already has gotten to this point, what if it gets to the point that you simply cannot trust what you see or hear, because there's a fairly significant chance that what you see or hear is part of an elaborate deception, like a deepfake or anything like that. The guys who programmed the Not Jordan Peterson bot also did a full deepfake, video included, video and voice, of Elon Musk introducing their project, and talking about how I think it was something like he's going to blow up the moon or something, so there's no competition going to Mars. It was something absolutely ridiculous that was obviously absurd, but, that's annoying. But it also could kind of be the sort of thing you might be able to imagine Elon Musk saying if you don't think too hard about it. And I would argue that the biggest problem with all of this is that our current way of dealing with news using relying primarily on recordings, it means that we don't have to think too hard about anything that we see or hear. So Kylie asked, what is a deepfake? A deepfake, so for anybody else who doesn't know as well, a deepfake is a video simulation or an audio simulation of someone, usually a famous person, but not necessarily. But it's a digitally reconstructed fake. See if somebody who is familiar with this and who has access to the chat, see if you can put a link to something relevant in there. Okay, offline. See if you can put a link to something or an article that you can search for this. See if you, ideally, see if you can find the Elon Musk one, because it was a very, very well constructed deepfake. It was honestly believable until it started to sound like he was a even more crazy person than he actually is. Not to say that Elon Musk is the bad kind of crazy. He is, without a doubt, the good kind of crazy. He's my favorite kind of crazy, in fact. But that aside, right? It's part of the point. Part of what needs to be addressed with all this is, well, how do we now trust anything that we see or anything that we hear? Given that anything we see or hear can easily be faked, right? It could be that we're being systematically deceived at this point. Particularly, it could be that we're being systematically deceived by what appears to us, at least on the surface, to simply be observation, right? Stupid inaccurate shotguns. So how do we cope with this? Well, one option, which I think is a very good one, is to retrain ourselves to be able to identify bullshit. For lack of a better technical term, bullshit will suit as a good enough technical term, I think. Rocket drones, that's not good at all. There we go. Sorry about all that. Bunch of drones. All right. So, in any case, right, it re-emphasizes the importance of call it the smell test, call it the bullshit filter, call it what you want, but basically our ability to sort of to tell whether or not something is plausibly real or not. Right? Ordinarily, we today, we modern American people, Western people in general, technologically advanced people, we're incredibly bad at telling whether something is plausible or not, because we have technology to rely on. Right? We can rely on seeing. Right? Seeing is believing for us. Well, If, on the other hand, if we want to think back 200 years or more, people who didn't have such otherwise reliable ways of figuring things out, of realizing things, of getting the news. If the news can't, in other words, if reports can't rely on audio or video recorded evidence, then they have to rely on other means, on other methods. More drones. They're going to be over in there. It's fine. It's fine. Nothing's going wrong here. I may have shot Liara a little bit. But if we have to rely, in this sense, on our kind of innate ability to figure out if something makes sense or not, then what that means is that we have to rely on what is essentially an otherwise very fallible way of figuring things out, a way that we today are not used to relying on. There. Right. Because we're not at all used to relying on our bullshit filters. Right? If we see something, by default, we think it's true. Right? If you see a news report of something, we don't have a habit of thinking about what the context for it is. We don't have a habit of thinking, well, what if somebody doctored this? Right? It's getting to be that case with some, especially audio things. Or sorry, especially some picture, still image things, because of the prevalence of Photoshop. Right? We always ask, well, is this photo doctored or something along those lines? And asking that is a good, healthy habit to get into because, well, yeah, probably. Right? In our current situation, there's a very high likelihood that whatever we're seeing is either not the whole truth, right? So there's further context to it, or it's innately deceptive because there is something wrong about it. There is something that has been altered. Or it's just invented from whole cloth. In that case, right, in the case of something like a deepfake or whatever, we have to rely on ourselves. We have to rely on our ability to sense whether something is plausible or not. And if we can't figure out whether something is plausible or not, then we have to rely on people who are good at realizing whether something is plausible or not. That is, I think, where we are lacking as a society in general. Right? We don't have this a complex relationship of trust between individuals that you totally had especially in terms of citizens and media throughout the 19th century, even throughout the early 20th century, before this kind of thing took hold, before people relied so heavily on direct recorded evidence. So I want to pause my discussion here to talk about this because this is actually quite relevant. A burst of white noise over all frequencies nearly deafens you. Your hardsuit's heads-up display interprets it as a series of zeros and ones. I'm not going to read them out. They repeat again and again, blanketing all frequencies until the lights on the final VI cluster flicker and die. Specialization class achieved. All right. Anyone read binary? Anybody in the chat read binary? If you do, this is a neat Easter egg. If you do, and you want to run it through, then let me know. Otherwise, I'll spoil it in a moment. But this actually comes back pretty significantly. As it happens, this was a virtual intelligence that, quote, woke up and became an AI. Welcome back, WizKid. Yeah, I don't know if this is if anyone does read it, but it says, I think, help me. I think. Could be wrong about that. But this is the newly awoken AI who you are killing. Trying to kill. WizKid says, was arguing over whether JP was a hack or not with a girl I kind of like. Oof. All right, well, good luck. Good luck. After all, as he is insistent, his audience is mostly men, but is also insistent that that's entirely because YouTube is mostly men. So there you go. That's in any case, yeah, I don't think he's a hack. I actually think especially his academic stuff is phenomenal. Maps of meaning and especially his maps of meaning courses. I've learned a lot about how to teach from his maps of meaning, watching his maps of meaning lectures. In any case, though, this, if you have seen or played the later games, this is Edie, the AI who becomes a squad mate in 2 and 3. So this is not the best terms to meet on, but hey, it's not your fault. Specialization thing, which I've already gotten, I think. Oh, geez. I'll take that. Gotta go through all these again. There's an option to take all, but there's no option to reduce all to Omnigel. WizKid says, yeah, she's really great otherwise, but I'm running out of arguments. I mean, I am not... it's not, his area of expertise is not mine. I do have my own objections to some of his views, which do tread on my intellectual expertise toes. In particular, I think he's rather shallow on the theological aspects of theology. That's complicated, and there's probably a lot to that, and I may actually make a lecture about that, about where I think Kylie, good advice. When in doubt, send a meme. Yeah, something about lobsters. That'll help. Honestly, that actually might help. But no, it's I may actually wind up making a video about where he goes wrong theologically speaking. And I don't just mean where he goes wrong with his theology, but where he goes wrong with his approach to theology is I think flawed. Where is Yeah. All right, let's go back. But anyway, I will, if you're interested now, I can kind of talk about it some, but otherwise, it's probably on my list, my long list of videos. Suffice it to say that I would absolutely love, for him to actually sit down and talk with a Thomistic philosopher or a theologian who really knows what they're talking about on these subjects, who can explain to him the importance of what he's missing. I want to date this girlfriend. So hey, listen. Memes are the language of the young people these days, or so I'm told by some young people. And just because it's been a very long time since I've been anything approaching single, does not mean... Oh wait, yes, it does mean that I have no idea what I'm talking about. So, hell, maybe ignore my advice on these subjects. I'm certainly no expert. But nothing can go wrong with a good lobster meme. Really, like, dominance hierarchies. I mean, yeah, he did talk to Bishop Barron, but unfortunately he did not. He talked to Bishop Barron, if I remember the interview correctly, almost entirely about Peterson's area of expertise, not Barron's area of expertise. Which is the disappointing part, because I know Bishop Barron is a phenomenal Thomistic theologian. He really does know his stuff very well, but they didn't really talk about it. They didn't really talk about the theology of matters too much. The closest he has gotten was his discussion with Patrick Coffin, who's an apologist. He used to work for Catholic Answers. But even that wasn't it was less than what I'd like it to have been. I would have preferred it to have been much more centered around theology. Don't get me wrong, it was a good interview, and both of them are brilliant thinkers. Honestly, some of the most brilliant, public intellectuals today. And by public intellectuals, I mean mass market sorts of people. I mean, there are little cloistered scholars who no one knows about except for people specifically who read them. Some of whom I read, that sort of thing, who are absolutely brilliant, but no one knows who they are, so talking about them is not... It doesn't bridge the gap between people in the same way that talking about Peterson does, or talking about Barron does, or anything like that. But yeah, I do think that this... So, summarizing what I was talking about, and why... First of all, this uses machine learning to be able to reproduce these things, which is kind of my tie-in to the important part of why I was playing stuff like...
Shut up, boomer.
Like that. And why we were going and fighting Edie at the same time. The point, though, is the big takeaway I want to make here is because when I was teaching about this a year or so ago, one of the big things I wanted to emphasize, because I taught it alongside some of our media studies stuff and the allegory of the cave from Plato's Republic, and because a lot of it involves mass market deceptions, and I think that this provides not just a problem but an opportunity. Because this will sort of force us as a society to get better at identifying bullshit. Right? And I keep using the term bullshit because there is no better term to describe what I'm talking about. Entirely fabricated lies kind of works, but but bullshit really covers it quite well. Fabricated lies which are intended to deceive in a systematic way, right? Something like that. WizKid says, it just makes me sad because our conversation was going so well until I, like a stupid person, mentioned Jordan Peterson. Yeah. I will say he is certainly divisive, and he is not somebody I can regularly talk about in... Well, I was going to say I can't talk about in the faculty lounge, but I can talk about Jordan Peterson in one of my faculty lounges, in the Catholic University faculty lounge, in my public secular university faculty lounge. I can't really, because a lot of my colleagues say the phrase "late capitalism" at least once a day. So there's that. In any case, I do think that this expanded possibility of mass market deception, I do think that this really does provide us with an opportunity to get better at identifying it. For one, training ourselves, but then also to develop networks of trust again. So we have the opportunity to get better at learning who to trust especially when it comes to news sources. Right. So if somebody is really bad about spreading fake news, or whatever you want to call it, if you want to use the buzzword, then that would be a reason to kind of not take them as seriously with this sort of thing and look at what they're saying with more suspicion, which we don't tend to do. We just tend to sort of gravitate towards self-reinforcing kinds of sources, But yeah, I think that the fact that we can no longer just simply and easily trust what we see and hear, this is going to force us to learn who and how to trust and when and why. Or at least hopefully, or we'll all be systematically deceived by the sketchier elements of society, and we will collapse into dystopian, Orwellian, nightmarish hell. Cheers. Could be fun. WizKid says she likes cats and is Catholic. The only thing that sucks is that she lives in Europe. Oh, Europe. Oh, man. Europe's a mistake. That was rude, but... not quite true, but... Europe's not doing so hot. these days. Then again, I mean, I'm one to talk. I live in the United States. We're not doing so hot right now either. So, but that's just right now, and we're having a rough patch. That's that sort of thing. Liking cats is a plus. Maybe send her a cat meme. Yeah. I mean, look, she's a Catholic. Feel free to unsubscribe. I'm gonna land.
Approach control, this is the SSV Normandy, requesting a vector and a berth.
Normandy, your arrival was not scheduled. Our defense grid is armed and tracking you. State your business.
Citadel business. We got a Council Spectre aboard.
Landing access granted, Normandy. Be advised, we will be confirming identification on arrival. If confirmation cannot be established, your vessel will be impounded.
What a fun bunch. I think I'll take my next leave here.
All right. So now that bad joke has been given time to sit with you guys. Bad pun? Yeah, it is, but use it. It's a good one. I invite you to use it at your leisure. But yeah, so yeah, now that that's there, and we're good waiting on that and sitting there. Couple of things. First of all, I said Kylie. I said Catholic. It was awful. In any case, right? So Noveria. For some background, Noveria is on the edge of any particular governmental structure. Noveria is more or less governed by the corporations that own the little settlements on it, by an executive sort of management board, and so it is very. I mean, it gets the reputation for being lawless, although that might be a bit of a stretch. I wouldn't say lawless per se. I would certainly say, though, that the laws are private and very haphazard. So we're going to look at whether this is a problem and in what ways this might be a problem and all that sort of thing. Presumably not. I mean, not at the outset. But it certainly comes with its own set of unique problems, and those are the kinds of things that we're going to be trudging our way through. They are also pretty hardcore about it, as you noticed, that, if you do land claiming Spectre authority, the authority of the Citadel Council, just about the only authority that Noveria as a whole acknowledges, then if you're lying, that's fraud. You're trying to defraud them. So, yeah, they can demand recompense. That's reasonable. Alright, so I'm gonna bring Caden and Liara. Oh, man. No, I really should bring Rex and Liara. Story-wise. Alright, so here's the question. Because I'm still torn for a couple of things. One, I'm still torn between romancing Caden and romancing Liara. Very deeply torn. In part because Caden, I haven't romanced Caden in a while. I haven't actually done a Caden romance, and he gets a bad rap, way too much. He's way better than anybody ever gives him credit for on the kind of in the fan base. And there's an interesting dynamic that he's got with Shepard, like we were talking about last week. At the same time, Liara is. Well, I just like the relationship with Liara better. In general, I think it works better. At the same time, though, it's also more strictly philosophically interesting because you have the whole issue of humans and aliens, and then and the lack of sexual dimorphism in Asari that makes the relationship thing interesting. So this might be an excuse to have both of them coming. I'm definitely bringing Liara because her mother. This whole quest is centered around her mother. She's definitely coming. And I kind of want to bring Caden so I can, love triangle, basically. Also, biotics are really useful on this mission. WizKid, is it because he has no personality? No, he has a personality. Oh my god. Yeah, some people think he doesn't have a personality, and that bugs me, because he's actually great. His personality is Canadian. He is 100% like Western Canadian. That is what he is. That is the core basis of his personality. Which to a lot of people sounds like no personality, to be fair, but it really is there. He's a cool guy. Anyway, though, that aside, if I were not to bring Caden, I would want to bring Rex, primarily because Rex actually has some significant character reasons to be here, although also they're not character reasons you find out about until a while in. So, it's tough. I don't know. For right now, I'm going to bring Caden. I can always switch to Rex. I can always switch to Rex before going on the actual combat part of the mission, where his stuff becomes relevant. So I might actually switch to Rex then. But for now, I'm bringing Caden and Liara because I'm still torn and cannot decide between romance options, and that's how you play a Mass Effect game. Or, no, that's not quite. That's how you play a BioWare game. Is a dating sim with
the commanding
weapons.
Officer is ashore. Exo Presley has the deck.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to bring Rex once we get to Peak 15. When we get to the satellite facility, I'm going to bring Rex for that. He actually has a really good reason to be there, and it becomes really significant for his character, so I'm going to bring him. For now, I am going to bring Caden. Also, I just like Caden. It's a cool dude. But yeah, I'm probably going to put a poll up at some point and throw it into some Mass Effect groups as for who I should romance on the livestream playthrough.
That's fine.
Okay.
We're not here to cause problems.
This is an unscheduled arrival. I need your credentials.
You first.
We're the law here. Show some respect.
I'm Captain Maiko Matsuo, Ilanis Risk Control Services.
WizKid says, I always love on Tally, so I don't know what you're talking about, Vince. That's fair. That's fair. Tally is probably the best written male shepherd romance. At least the sweetest. Let's put it that way. There's still a competition. There is still competition with Liara, and I get why people think FemShep and Garrus should get together. I get it. I don't like it personally. But that's a subjective thing in that case. I just see them working better as brother sister comrade in arms, kind of best friends kind of thing. Tally, yeah, definitely male shepherd and Tally. I can see where you're coming from. But yeah, for this run, I am deciding for the trilogy. I'm deciding between Liara and Caden, both of whom do have legitimately interesting things to talk about as well. Like especially the personality dynamic between Shepard and Caden is not what you'd expect, but it's interesting from a symbolic perspective. So there's at least that. WizKid says she's adorable. The game I'm a totally hoe in is Stardew Valley. Oh my god. Okay, so yeah, BioWare isn't the only cleverly disguised dating sim video game maker. Stardew Valley is another one. I'm with the council.
I'm a Spectre. My name is Shepard.
Load of horse crap, ma'am.
We will need to confirm that. Also, I must advise you that firearms are not permitted on Noveria. Sergeant Sterling, secure their weapons.
We can let them do this, Commander.
Answer's no.
Nobody takes my weapon.
And they are as glowing.
We are authorized to use lethal force. You have to the count of 3 to surrender your weapons. 1, 2, 3.
Captain Matsuo, stand down!
Aw. She looks so disappointed.
We confirmed their identity. Spectres are authorized to carry weapons here, Captain.
You may proceed, Spectre. I hope the rest of your visit will be less confrontational. Parasini-san will meet you upstairs.
Behave yourself.
I love how she has the most American accent in the world, but she's clearly has a semi-Japanese dialect and a very, very Japanese name. WizKid asks, what happens if you romance Caden and then he dies? Shepard gets real sad. That's what. It actually becomes a big deal later in the third game. It's one of those things that it's one of the things that kind of starts triggering her PTSD in the third game, which she very clearly has. So I'm assuming, WizKid, you're talking about Stardew Valley. At first I married Penny. She's amazing, but then I met Leia, and now I just can't get enough. I need a girlfriend. In real life? Yeah, I agree. Especially because that's most of what you're talking about tonight on the stream.
Will answer any questions you have.
So, yes, I think I agree. Ooh, don't know what that is, but it's cool. Also, that is such a nice suit, and I want it. I love the formal wear in Mass Effect. No, that's not true. I love the male formal wear in Mass Effect.
Weapons detectors. Don't mind the alarms.
The female formal wear has this tendency to have extremely high necklines, like absurdly high necklines, and to be fairly rubbery. And they really have a thing about windows, which is weird. But no, the male formal wear, the jackets, the suit kind of stuff, like over there, that's nice. That's really nice.
I am Gianna Parasini, assistant to Administrator Anoleis. We apologize for the incident in the docking bay.
I appreciate your help.
You're welcome. You understand our security chief was only doing her job. One of my duties is orientation of new arrivals. Do you have any questions?
Right to the point.
Has anyone unusual passed through here recently?
Unusual? An Asari matriarch passed through a few days ago. Lady Benezia.
Benezia? She is here?
Can I speak with her?
Benezia left for the Peak 15 research complex days ago. To the best of my knowledge, she's still there.
Could you tell me how to get there?
You'll need to ask Administrator Anoleis for clearance to leave this port.
Where can I find the Administrator?
His office is on the main level, left at the top of the elevator.
Pretty heavy security for such a small port.
The Executive Board does everything in its power to protect the privacy of our client corporations.
I'm not here to dig out any corporate secrets.
That's gratifying to hear.
Understood. Can we go in now?
Of course. If you need any help, you can ask me at the Administrator's office.
She is here. I can't believe it. I imagine you want to talk to me, Shepard. About my mother.
No, we don't. I trust you, Liara. You may not be military, but you're a part of my crew.
Thank you, Shepard. That means a great deal to me.
Alright, so I like Gianna Parasini. She's cool. And you find out more about her that makes her more cool.
The galaxy's most respected site for independent scientific research and development. For your own safety, and to protect the privacy of others, you are required to obey any directions given by our security personnel. If you have questions or concerns, our friendly administrative staff is always available. Thank you, and enjoy your stay.
Alright, so since I'm allowed to carry weapons and nobody else is, I'm going to take out my assault rifle and fire indiscriminately at the ceiling. Alright, that was fun. Anyway. That aside, yeah, the places like Noveria in this game, and then Ilium in the second game, which are outside the jurisdiction, strictly speaking, of any Citadel race, core planetary government. They provide a lot of these sorts of research, especially for Noveria. Scientific research which does not have to take the time to go through bureaucratic loops and hoops and all of that. Also, that might mean that places like this are also they can bypass ethical standards in their research. Or maybe just safety standards. which is a little less bad. But that also can be very, very bad, but we'll see on that. However, so this is one of those things where it can provide a very useful service, but at the same time might be incredibly, incredibly dangerous and or unethical, at least on a case-by-case basis. So that'll wind up being something certainly for us to talk about, and whether that means regulatory ethics or biomedical ethics, which are different fields that really both intersect here.
This one offers greetings. You are the Spectre that visits Port Hanshan.
News travels fast here.
Indeed, esteemed Spectre. Your arrival was not greeted with any joy by the companies here. This one has a burden that you could ease. If an arrangement could be made, it would compensate you. This one has procured a special item for a customer. The item is not permitted within the station, but you could bring it through customs.
You want me to use my status to smuggle for you?
That is not inaccurate.
I won't carry anything if I don't know what it is.
This one must be discreet. Rest assured, the contents pose no threat to anyone within this port.
I mean, if I can take his word for it, fine. But can I? Then again, Hanar are not known to be the best liars.
I want to know where this package is going.
This one's customer prefers to remain anonymous.
I'd be stupid to do this without knowing that I'm not equipping my own enemies.
Your words are not unreasonable. The customer is the Krogan called Inamorda. That one is a bounty hunter of some repute, and quick to anger. You understand this one's urgency. That other grows restless from the delay.
Yeah, sure.
I have no problem with that.
This one humbly thanks the Spectre. The package will be delivered to your vessel. All you need do is bring it to this one. Please do not mention this to Administrator Anoleis. That one would levy fees. Is there anything else this one might help you with?
Could I buy something now?
Is there anything in particular the Spectre is looking for?
No. No, I guess not. I have infinite money and nothing to spend it on, so that's cool.
I'm on duty, Spectre. I shouldn't be talking to you.
Yeah, okay. Fees. So that's actually an interesting point. That kind of overlaps with a lot of the discussions we've been having with in the context of Red Dead. Fees in this case, I mean, it clearly means bribes. It does not mean actual like docking fees or import fees or anything like that. Clearly, he's talking about Administrator Anoleis demanding a bribe so that Opold can maintain his shop here. He can still keep selling things here and keep importing things and exporting things through here, all of that. Basically, he's... I don't want to go there yet. But yeah, it is. It's one of those where it's very clear that a lot of the business that goes on here goes on under the table and behind closed doors, and people don't want to do things officially, because if you're in an environment where things are not done in a regulated manner, you're going to be making individual deals with a lot of people, right? You're going to be dealing one-on-one with people because, I mean, you're going to be avoiding any kind of bureaucracy because you come here to avoid bureaucracy. However, there's another side to that, which, let me see what this guy...
Right?
Yeah, that's me.
I used to be a military tech. Except for Maiko's people, everyone's too corporate here. They just sit around sipping expensive water. So what can I do for you today?
How can I get into the garage?
You need a pass. You can get one from Anoleis or the managers, if you can polish enough gizzard.
Maybe you could let me borrow yours?
Sure. If I wanted to lose my job and get sued into the next spiral arm, security tracks card use.
You seem like you have an ear to the ground. What's happening around here?
There's the problems up on Peak 15. Synthetics Insights was shut down by Anoleis, and the matriarch came through.
Do you know where that matriarch is now?
You looking for her? She took a shuttle to Peak 15 before we lost contact.
What sort of problems are there at Peak 15?
Don't know. There's a blizzard up there, but we've had those before. Never cut the satellite uplinks before. 15's always had a lousy reputation. Nobody talks about what they do there. And everyone sent up comes back a little quieter.
What was that about synthetic insights?
Scuttlebutt says Lord Keene was on the take. So Anoleis shut down SI's offices. Quiet-like, so no off-world lawyers come in on it.
What do you do here?
I'm the chief mechanic for Hanshan. Just call me Lee. Humans have a problem saying my full name. Got a team of 12 under me, keeping the shuttles coming and going.
I have to go.
You need anything? I'll be here.
I think it's a little Hyrax, but I'm not sure. Let's go with Lee. Anyway, the other point, though, that the sort of counterpoint to the issue of, well, coming here to avoid bureaucratic scrutiny, so of course everyone would be going under the table to avoid bureaucratic scrutiny. Well, yes, but at the same time, without there being the kinds of top-down regulations, the only regulations you would have would be these kinds of backroom deals. And so they form their own system of laws through their own practices. So one of the points to that, and why I question why so many people are so reticent to work above board, is because the people who are involved here, especially the higher ups like Anoleis, are primarily responsible for the regulations that are here. And those regulations are there to, more or less, to serve everybody involved, not necessarily third parties or anybody outside of the organizations in question. Right? So the regulations here are more organic. They work more, they ought to, reasonably speaking. They ought to work more together with how people ordinarily do business. And so avoiding them is probably a sign that something sketchy is going on, or a sign of corruption. Right. So either Opold, right, our Hanar up there, is doing something sketchy. He's really importing something that he probably ought not to be importing, or Anoleis is doing something sketchy and is starting to take bribes, and he's starting to demand bribes, and he's starting to line his own pockets at the expense of the rest of the executive board, of the corporations around, of the other employees, of just about anybody. And so that being the problem, well, we have to, we can figure out which. I bet it's Anoleis. And I'm not just saying that because I've played this before. But either way, because he is in charge, we do have to go talk to Anoleis. But first, we have to talk to Gianna.
Can I help you?
I hear there was an accident on Peak 15.
We're aware of the rumors. At the moment, contact with the facility is down due to weather. All employees should review their non-disclosure agreements and avoid irresponsible free talk.
So, everyone shut up and keep your heads down?
Loose lips sink third quarter profits. You have a more blunt way of speaking than is common here, Commander.
What kind of weather cuts modern communications?
A blizzard is sweeping the Scotty Mountains right now. Between the cloud cover and heavy snow, the satellite uplinks are cut.
WizKid says, so either way, some asshole is up to something. They shouldn't be. Wonderful. Yeah, pretty much. Someone's up to something, and it's nasty. I'd like to find out which, but at the same time, Spectres do have this whole reputation for being above such matters, if you want to say. So, we'll see. We'll see what we can discover.
What corporations work on Peak 15?
Binary Helix has leased the entire complex.
Okay.
How large are the facilities here?
We have 17 research complexes built into the mountains. Each is a self-sufficient facility housing a staff of hundreds.
Tell me about the companies that work on Noveria.
Over 250 high-tech firms rent our labs. Major shareholders include Elanus Risk Control Services, Binary Helix, and Synthetic Insights Limited.
Binary Helix. They work in genetics?
BH is a leader in genetics and biotechnology. They try to keep a low profile in the media. Much of their research is in biotic modifications. That angers many Luddite, organic baseline, and fundamentalist groups.
Haven't I seen Synthetic Insights in the news lately?
They're one of only 4 corporations licensed by the Citadel Council to develop artificial intelligence. They attract many protests. No agitators have ever breached our security. That's why they invest heavily here.
That's unfortunately relevant. Let's move on.
Your guards work for ERCS, don't they?
The executive board gets a discount on facility security. Elanus also develops lethal and non-lethal weapons.
I'd like to speak to Anoleis.
One moment, please. Mr. Anoleis?
Yes, what?
Commander Shepard is asking to see you, sir.
Right, fine, come in.
He sounds busy. Let's take up a lot of his time. It's a nice office with floating guns. Hold on a second. I got a bad idea. Nah, I can't mess with the wall safe. Okay.
You will excuse me if I don't stand up. I have no time to entertain spaceborne vagabonds.
Here's a specter, not a human. Keep that in mind.
Believe me, that is foremost in my mind. This greeting is a courtesy. I will only cooperate as required by the Executive Board. Businesses come here to avoid the second guessing of galactic law.
Are you telling me you have no safety protocols?
Don't be ridiculous. Do you think a for-profit company would take no precautions against loss of life and material? Project leads have the final say here, not meddlesome politicians.
He makes a fairly solid point, and also it's worth noting that after the nonsense with Peak 15 that you go and uncover, you never hear about Binary Helix again for the duration of the trilogy, I don't think. They take a pretty nasty hit because of what happens here. So this is exactly the kind of feedback mechanism that Anoleis is talking about. That really, I'm actually glad that they portrayed it that way, because in fact it does have a real effect like that. So what about Peak 15?
Is there some problem on Peak 15?
An area of severe weather has cut off contact. Things will return to normal in a few days.
Do you do business with Saren?
Agent Saren? One of your Spectre compatriots? He is a major investor in Binary Helix Corporation, which is one of Noveria's backers.
Is Binary Helix developing weapons for him?
It's possible, given his interests. What our clients do in their labs is their business.
I've heard an Asari matriarch is here. Benezia?
She arrived a few days ago, accompanied by a personal escort and some cargo. She's up at Peak 15.
What can you tell me about her cargo?
Large, heavy, and sealed. It passed weapons screening. Beyond that, it is not our concern.
Kylie, all I see is Bleakley from Lilo and Stitch, or the Captain Alien Lady, the leader of the Galactic Alliance, I take it. Oh, God. Yeah. He is very Bleakley. Oh my God, he really is. The Galactic Alliance leader, the president, I think, her? She may in fact just be a Solarian. Or a Solarian might be one of what she is. Solarians might be one of what she is. I'm fairly certain Lilo and Stitch came out a while before Mass Effect. So yeah, definitely. Oh my God, I definitely see the resemblance though. He talks like Bleakley. Holy heck, does he talk like Bleakley? WizKid, when will you learn that your actions... I can't do it. I'm older than 6. Your actions have consequences. But yes, worse than Sanic.
What do you mean, personal escort?
The phrase is self-explanatory. Bodyguards attending to the safety of her person, mainly Asari commandos.
And you didn't think that odd?
They followed all our regulations. I had no reason to forbid Lady Benezia from taking them.
WizKid, yeah, she doesn't talk fast enough. So she looks like a Solarian. Bleakly talks like a Solarian. Acts like a Solarian. He basically is a Solarian with a weird eye. That's about it. But yeah, I absolutely agree. The alien design in Lilo and Stitch, it was really, really well done.
What brought her out here?
If I knew, I wouldn't be at liberty to say. She came here as Agent Saren's executor. She's here on business for Binary Helix. There were issues at Peak 15 that required Saren's attention.
I'd like to see her, immediately.
I'm afraid that you cannot. Peak 15 is a private facility in the Skadi Mountains. Regardless, there is a blizzard in the area. Shuttles are grounded and surface access has been cut off.
Surface access, you say?
Cut off, I said. The roads are not suitable for travel. Don't make an issue of this, Shepard.
Forget him, Commander. If he won't play ball, I'm sure someone else here will.
Back to my other questions.
Every minute of my time you waste costs the company 12 credits. I will keep a running tally.
All right, I'm just going to stand here and talk to you guys for a minute, given that. He annoys me. I don't actually remember. I think it's Bleakley with a P, but I'm not 100% sure. Might be Bleakley with a B. Kylie says I should do a philosophy vid on Lilo and Stitch. I haven't watched it in a long time, so I'd need to rewatch it with an eye for that sort of thing. But I would certainly like to. There's certainly issues of bioethics in there, and personhood and all that. So maybe. Yeah, I think it is Bleakley. I think I might have just said it wrong. But yeah, I might actually, I might look into that. It might not be a bad idea. So let's see about this closed office.
Why is Synthetic Insights closed?
I have placed Laura Keene, the manager of the Hanshan office, under internal review. I cannot comment further at this time.
And alright, that's it.
I have no more questions at this time.
Good. I received a dozen urgent messages while you dithered about.
Corporate types, huh?
Mr. Anoleis isn't the only one with a pass to leave Hanshan. You've never worked in the corporate world, have you, Commander? You can't bludgeon through bureaucracy.
WizKid says, after Red Dead Redemption 2, can we play, I assume that's Metal Gear Solid 2? I don't have it, so as of now, no. But if somebody wants to give it for me, get it for me on PC, that might change my mind.
So it would seem. I need an alternative.
Talk to Lorik Keene. You should be able to find him at the hotel bar. Can't say more. Not within earshot of Mr. Anoleis.
You said I should talk to Lorik Keene?
Mr. Anoleis isn't the only one with a pass to leave Hanshan. Keene spends his days at the hotel since his office was closed.
I've taken up enough of your time.
Not at all, Spectre. This is my job, after all.
I mean, part of your job. The other part's a secret. Anyway, we'll find that out later. I love the architectural design of this place. It is a style that I usually hate done really well. It's like incredibly brutalist, but there's something nice to it. There's something spacious about it that is not characteristic of brutalist architecture that I really actually like. It feels open, which is weird for this style. Do I have PlayStation Now? Because you can find it there if you subscribe to it. I do not. I don't have a PlayStation. The most recent console of any sort that I have is a Wii U. And a decent gaming PC. In fact, most of my gaming I do on PC. So, unfortunately, that I would say that limits my options, but it doesn't do a lot of limiting, honestly. It means that I had to wait an extra few months to play Red Dead Redemption 2, and I can't play new Spider-Man. That's about it. PlayStation exclusives don't have a habit of staying exclusive. Now, I will say, though, Nintendo exclusives have a habit of staying exclusive. Which is why I haven't played Breath of the Wild yet. A little disappointed by that.
Excuse me, I need a moment of your time.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
The male human at the hotel bar? He's a sales rep for Binary Helix. His name is Rafael Vargas. I need you to speak with him.
Do you know who I am?
Everyone here knows who you are, Dullstone. That makes you ideal for my job. You are a known quantity, or so Vargas will think. He will assume you are here to investigate his company's dirty laundry. That will distract him from my real intentions.
He's right there. Why not talk to him yourself?
I wish I could. I already bungled this myself. He realized I was not a real buyer.
I don't know anything about Binary Helix. What would I talk to Vargas about?
I represent the Aramali City Council on Thessia. Our town is known for its biotic amp crafters.
What's your interest in Binary Helix? They do genetics work.
Much of BH's work relates to biotics. There are rumors that the Noveria branch has flown in Asari biotics. Powerful ones. Commandos, to be specific. We want to assess any potential risk to Asari copyrights. You will present yourself as a buyer, on behalf of the Spectres or the Alliance, discuss their military enhancement programs. Your real objective will be to distract him. I will give you a device that will crack into his personal wireless network. It will upload a variety of monitoring viruses. They will infiltrate Binary Helix when he logs onto their intranet.
Don't feel bad. Breath of the Wild is great, but it gets stale after a while. Hopefully the sequel fixes its problems. I got that impression that it's so open world that it kind of get lost and just things just sort of are around. It's kind of just a world simulator kind of thing. That said, I might love the living hell out of that, in part because I've quite recently sunk almost 90 hours into No Man's Sky. Somehow. So maybe I might like that sort of thing. Who knows? Kylie says the dialogue with Shep and others is really sassy tonight, and I'm living for it. Yes, I absolutely love Shepard on Noveria, or just generally Shepard dealing with people she doesn't want to deal with, which is everyone on Noveria and the Citadel Council.
You think this uniform's just for show? My job is to enforce the law, not break it.
Do you think that Binary Helix obeys all the laws? That they do not spy on other companies?
What they might be doing somewhere else doesn't justify my acting against them here.
Very well, Spectre. I will be on my way.
I'm gonna go tell him. If I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. Oh, no, he doesn't. He doesn't want to. Oh well. Okay, fine.
You're the Spectre, right? Management told us not to talk to you.
I mean, that is fair. Perfectly understandable. WizKid says it's not a game you're meant to play all at once, I think, and that's why it gets stale for people. Yeah, I think Nintendo does that sort of thing quite well. They do games that are designed to come back to and come back to and come back to, and not play like solidly for hours at a time, or days at a time. Jesus. Which is why Nintendo hasn't really bought into the whole gaming as a service thing that so many other companies have, is because they already got it. They already can get you to sink endless playtime into a game, and they have been doing that for ages. That a lot of companies haven't gotten that right. Bethesda kind of does, but they do it in the same way. So.
Afternoon. Sit down, have a drink. What can I do for you?
Actually, that's not true. There's a Nintendo tends to do it with its story, making its story last forever, not forever, but the kind of thing that you have to take your time with. A perfect example of this is the Metroid Prime games. Those were phenomenal, but I never could binge them like I can with like BioWare games or any other really good story or story-based RPG. For some reason, for whatever reason, the way the story is laid out, it's the kind of thing that you need to do a little bit at a time and let it settle. Metroid Prime 3 especially, which I thought was fantastic. One of the best games on the Wii. WizKid, at least their games are good, and they aren't a completely soulless publisher yet. Yeah. Yeah, I've always been, since I've started playing video games, I've always been a Nintendo and PC kind of guy. Because if there's anything that I can't play on Nintendo or PC, it means it's a Sony exclusive, which means it's either a JRPG or some weird licensing thing that won't last forever and eventually will come out on PC, like Spider-Man or like Red Dead. But yeah, Nintendo, though, they do their own thing, and they do their own thing spectacularly well. Like I said, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption was phenomenal. All of the new, especially the 3D Mario games, are amazing. They're just so well done, while still being their own thing. They've maintained their look and their feel to them, and they don't. I think honestly that's the big thing, is Nintendo doesn't get sucked into industry trends like a lot of publishers do. At least not nearly to the same extent.
Are you Lorik Keen? I heard you might be able to help me.
You are the Spectre that just arrived, are you not? What can an old Turian like me possibly help you with?
WizKid says, what about Xbox? Not a fan of Bill Gates? Well, I'm not, but that's mostly because of his I won't say political leanings, because everyone in tech has absurd political leanings. Most of them have awful political leanings, so it's not that. And if I were to only play video games on the basis of political leanings, I would have to wait until Elon Musk publishes a video game, because his political beliefs are inscrutable and bizarre, and I love that. But no, it's not so much his political beliefs; it's his activism. I have huge problems with his with the Gates Foundation, and a lot of let me put it this way: a lot of how they treat the third world, as basically great example. Oh, okay, great example. They treat the third world like if you've seen Stargate Sg1. Is it because he's part of the Illuminati? Listen, I don't... even though it seems like I'm the kind of person who would, I don't actually believe in the Illuminati, primarily because I don't think that an organization like that could keep itself secret for any length of time. It would become public. Now, I do certainly think that there are, powerful people who work together at the top and try and get their goals accomplished, whether those are selfish or what they see as altruistic, yada yada, all that, fine, sure. Rich and powerful people conspire with each other. Sure, why not? No problem. That problem, I'm sure that happens. But something systematic and cultish like the Illuminati, not so much. That just strikes me as incredibly implausible, given what we know of how large organizations function. But no, the example I was going to go with was from another science fiction. If you've seen Stargate Sg1, there's a couple of episodes in season 4 or 5 about a race of aliens, not aliens per se, they're extraterrestrial humans called the Ashen. Their key characteristic is they're wildly technologically advanced, and they are boring middle management bureaucrats. But their technique, what they do is they take in relatively primitive civilizations like Earth. Even Earth is a relatively primitive civilization for them. They offer them wildly advanced technology, but they slip in things that make them subservient. Usually sterility. And you can see the comparison with Bill Gates forming. So the Ashen, what they do is they slip in this, they gradually get whatever civilization it is hooked on their technology, including their medical technology, which unbeknownst to that relatively primitive civilization, it makes people sterile. Makes the entire population, or damn near the entire population, completely sterile. Similar to what the Turians and Solarians did to the Krogan to an extent, right? In a way, to make them subservient and to free up their entire planet for resource production. And it is a slow, very long-term sort of conquest, and it is really precisely the kind of thing that I do not like Bill Gates for, in the way that he treats, especially like Africa and South Asia. So yeah, it's not, so as you said, it's not that just that he's a baby killer, because he doesn't directly, I assume. But even aside from, funding of abortion and all of that, it's his manipulation of population genetic. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. The abortion and contraception issues are themselves awful, and that's its own thing. But in addition to that, it is his treatment of whole populations as kind of subjects of scientific manipulation that is deeply disturbing and ethically heinous. Yeah, it is a kind of modern-day imperialism, but it's a really soft-handed, maybe Orwellian kind of imperialism. But Orwellian in the sense of Oceania and the kind of the how the nations in 1984, how they I'm thinking of no, it's not Orwellian. I'm thinking of Brave New World. So it's more like Brave New World than 1984. That's what I'm thinking, right? So it's more like the kind of imperialism and taking people over by enticing them, using the carrot more than the stick, that kind of thing. But it's still the same sort of nefarious imperialism, particularly cultural and ethical imperialism, putting forward his, I think, deeply flawed ethical system as universally normative.
I'm trying to find a way into the garage. I have places to go.
You need a pass. How fortuitous. I'm the manager of the local Synthetic Insights office. For the moment, at least. Mr. Anoleis closed my office. He claims to be investigating reports of my corruption. The Administrator is an interesting man. He's become quite wealthy since he took direct control of rents.
Ah, so it is probably Anoleis, like I said. Oh, right, so, sorry, I got super distracted by Bill Gates being a not particularly great sort of guy. Don't get me wrong, I have great appreciation for the technological developments that he's put forward, Microsoft and all that, fine. And also, I have no problem with Microsoft games. I have no problem with Xbox. I prefer Xbox to PlayStation typically, both for its games and for its just for the way that it's set up and the way that it kind of works. But that said, you will very, very seldom find an Xbox game that you can't also play on PC. So it doesn't seem very useful to me. The only real main reason to sort of patronize Microsoft for gaming is to buy an Xbox controller to plug into your gaming PC, in my view. But again, like I said, that's so it's not my opposition to Microsoft. Well, I don't have an opposition to Microsoft. My reason I don't play games on Xbox has nothing to do with Microsoft or with Bill Gates. It's just because, it's impractical, relatively speaking. I use Windows and basically the Microsoft ecosystem, in as much as it has one. I'm not into. I haven't gone deep into Linux or anything, just because I find the Microsoft operating system, the Windows operating system, to be convenient enough, and I'm just generally used to it. So yeah, and things work for it typically. It works. It plays well with other things. Yeah. So WizKid says. It's racist too, in a really underhanded way, the kind you can deflect while pretending to be altruistic. The kind of tyranny that really works. You need to read more Huxley. Yeah, definitely read more Huxley. It's also read more Orwell. Both of them are fantastic. They get two sides of the coin that is the 21st century methods of tyranny that that were predicted in the 20th century. It says, or you could buy a PS3 controller and circumvent them completely. I'm not that dedicated to circumventing Microsoft, so yeah, it's fine. That is true. They do plug into USB, so I could actually do that. They didn't used to, which is why I was thinking Microsoft. Why I was thinking an Xbox controller. I was looking into the Steam controller a while ago, which is actually really well designed. It's a great little thing. It is mostly touch interface, so it's multi-touch. It's really, really customizable. And then they discontinued it after selling a bunch of them for $5 last summer sale, and I was really disappointed that I missed it. Anyway, back to Laura Keane and his accusations against Anoleis.
I sense a connection there.
Indeed. I acquired evidence of Anoleis' actions. His hired goons are ransacking my office to find it. I suspect your goal lies outside this port. Mr. Anoleis would be disinclined to let you wander. If you recover the evidence from my office, I will give you my garage pass, as well as a sum of credits.
Why didn't Anoleis cancel your pass clearance?
Why should he? There's nothing outside but snow and hungry Nathak.
How did you get a pass?
I'm a manager. Most executives on Noveria are free to come and go as they will.
You have a plan?
I do. However, there is one other... What is that charming human expression? Fly in the lotion? Violence against Mr. Anoleis' thugs may be necessary. He has members of Han-Shan's security team searching my offices. He's paying them under the table. Miss Matsuo is unaware of their outside employment.
I'll focus on trying to get your evidence. If I'm lucky, I won't have to fight anyone.
Excellent. Here is my pass into our offices. It will activate the elevator. The evidence is on my office computer. This OSD contains an encryption key to access it. Slide it into the drive and it will auto-execute. Oh, and do try to keep bloodstains off the carpets, would you?
Callous, but I love it. That is the kind of sketchy executive that's just appealing. There's something cool about that kind of guy. He's actually honest in his dishonesty, unlike somebody like Anoleis, who's actually hiding things.
I'm sorry. The hotel is off limits to those without a corporate account.
Yeah.
Don't hang up. Elder brother, it's me. I'm on Noveria now. I can't talk long. This call is costing 10 credits a minute. It's real time from the Traverse. Did you think it would be cheap? I need some information. There's an issue here with Synthetic Insights. The manager, Laura Keane. He got caught with his toes wet. The office is closed by Hanshin's administrator. I need you to see what you can find out about... Are you ready for his name? Ronadril Gan Swa Folsum Keratin Nar Ead Bella Anoleis. No, that's the administrator. The Hanshin administrator. Well, think about it. A Turian wouldn't risk getting his office closed. They don't compromise their team. That's drilled into them from boot camp. I think the administrator is using this Keane fella to draw flies from his own clutch. Of course I could look it up myself. But do you think I'm likely to get any unfiltered data through Noveria's own network? That, and it would take forever for any out-system search results to get back here. Thank you, Elder Brother. I have to go. Yes. I'll speak to you soon.
So we're not the only one investigating. Cool. Love that. Also, Solarian names are absurdly long. I think we talked about that with somebody. Forget when. I think somebody talked about it. So WizKid, I got some of both. I assume you mean Huxley and Orwell. Doors of Perception, Heaven and Hell for Huxley. Down and Out in Paris and London for Orwell. I did read Down and Out in Paris and London a long time ago, but I haven't read any of the others just yet. So hopefully those will be on my list at some point. Security logs. Not sure if you'll receive this, Doctor, but it is imperative you make your way to the safe location. Your history with our organization has been leaked. Your base in the Newton system is no longer secure. I repeat, make your way to the safe location immediately. That sounds sketchy. What's this? Hey, disabled synthetic insight security. Accidentally. I didn't actually intend to do that.
What do you want?
What's that you're drinking?
Human blood with cinnamon. Find someone else to bother.
No, okay. I was gonna help you, but whatever. That's the guy we're smuggling for. Let's go. We gotta go out this way. Anyway. Yeah. Also worth noting, I don't know if any of you guys had a chance to, but the first of my reading grip videos are up. By the way, I assume he was not actually drinking human blood with cinnamon. I'm assuming he's that was a way of getting me to shut up and go away. But in any case, like I said, the first of my reading grip videos are up. The beginning of Duns Scotus's commentary on Aristotle's Metaphysics, Metaphysics Book 9, where he extensively, this is where he talks about the stomach principle that I've talked about in a previous video. Garage, yeah, it's in here. So this is where he outlines his idea that the will is a rational power. And what he means by rational power. The first part is talking about what he means by something being called a rational power, as opposed to a non-rational or a natural power. So it has some interesting distinctions, and this part is him outlining Aristotle. So if you haven't seen it yet, I do highly recommend to check it out, and feel free to discuss. Either on one of the streams, I'm happy to talk about it, or just in the comments of one of the posts about it, whether that's on the YouTube video itself or on the Facebook post on the page where I'd announced it.
Freeze! Hanshan security. This office is sealed.
Lorik Keene gave me a pass in.
Keene? Are you working for him? He's under investigation.
Anoleis is paying you to shake this place down. Does Captain Matsuo know you're here?
Hey, I'm not the one who wants Keene. Anoleis has a Varen up his ass about this guy. How about this? You pretend you didn't see us, we'll pretend we didn't see you.
Go, go, go!
Oh, you're gonna shoot me then, huh? Fine. Just... Alright, well, I didn't kill her. What the heck? Oh, hey. Oh, no. Alright, was that all of them?
All clear.
So let's be clear there that we walked in, we made a deal to settle it peacefully, and then they started shooting at me. That is not my fault. That is in no way my fault. That is definitely their dumbass fault, and not mine. Who's still shooting at me, and why have you chosen to die? God, she runs weird. Really? I missed one. Yep, we gonna kill some people. Listen, like I said, it's not my fault. There's the idiot who decided to die. Into the water feature.
All clear.
Of course. Now we're clear. I don't need those. Oh, good. I didn't get any crap. Nothing in here, so let's continue upstairs. Let's continue back upstairs. You're in perfect accordance with the nap, Vince. Don't worry. Technically, yes. Now, I will say, speaking of non-aggression principle and its corollary points of like property considerations and all that, in a legal system like this, such things become immediately quite complicated. Right, so property considerations become quite complicated when it comes to privately organized legal systems like you find on Noveria. What the heck achievement did I get for picking up a box? That's weird. Okay. Neat. Probably an achievement for that. In any case, though, yes, I do think that there is there are significant considerations having to do with property rights and what that means for the sake of whether and to what extent one is justified in acting in situations like this. I don't need those. I needed that. And again, let's we can work through this if we want to be careful with it. So we can look at this and point out that okay, so this is in fact Lord Keen's property, and he is. So first, figure out who is the initial aggressor in a situation like this. It seems to be the case. I would argue that Anoleis is the initial violator of rights, not necessarily Keen, not necessarily having violated Keen and his rights, but certainly having violated the rights of somebody on the station, hence him shaking people down, extorting rents, and all of that stuff. Oh, interesting.
I don't think you're supposed to be in here, Shepard. Do you plan on making me leave?
Leave? You think I'm gonna let you walk out? Anoleis would throw you off-world for what you did here. I won't. You know what we did to cop killers on my world?
Being a cop doesn't give you the right to break the law yourself. You accepted bribe money.
I didn't want to fight them. They fired first.
Well, I don't need a gun to rip you to pieces.
Okay, well they're all just kind of floating everywhere, so that's cool.
I will destroy you! You must die!
Oof. Wow, that was impressive. And she's down. She's shattered. Alright, nice one, Caden. Yeah, super relevant. They did in fact shoot first. And further, like I said, I would argue that... Oh, that's not supposed to do that, Liara. I assume that was Liara. I missed him, didn't I? Can't you just run? It'd be great if you just ran. It's too late. Oh well.
Area secured.
Yeah, he is totally... Caden is totally Canadian. 100% Canadian. Toronto, I think. Anyway. I got new stuff, which I don't actually need. There we go. But yeah, so... Clearly, I think relatively clearly, Anoleis is primarily responsible for the situation. He is the one who first aggressed against another's rights, right? And so is responsible for is due retribution, or at least has. If we're gonna go into way too complex legal theory, he has estopped. He has estopped his right to complain against retribution.
Commander, there have been
I'll
reports
explain what
of
that means
noise
in a
from the
moment.
Synthetic Insights office. Would you know anything about it?
It's probably Anoleis' thugs ripping the place apart.
Smartass, huh? That's fine. I can work with that. Meet me at the hotel for a drink before you talk to Keen. I'll be waiting.
I love her. She's fantastic. Anyway, though, yeah. So what I mean by estopped, there's a legal concept called estoppel. In other words, it is when you voluntarily act against a principle. What you do is essentially you authorize other people to act against that same principle against you. And so if you steal something, the reason that somebody is justified in retrieving their stolen property or demanding recompense or compensation, demanding more back from you, is because you have demonstrated that you have no respect for someone else's property, or you have no respect for property rights in general. And so if somebody steals from you, you have no right to complain because you have demonstrated that you have no concern for the principle of property rights. A legal theorist by the name of Stefan Kinsella has done a lot of work on this. So he's sort of built an entire legal theory off of the principle of estoppel. So take a look at him if you're interested in such topics. I'm going to actually write that down so I don't forget. If there was anything else that I mentioned that I really should put a link to over the course of this, let me know. I know deepfakes because we started off with that. Elon Musk. Yeah, that was another one. Anyway, so those things. If there's anything else that comes up that I have discussed, throw it in the chat so I don't forget what to link in the description after the stream is over. But in any case, yeah. So essentially, Anoleis has first violated other people, and so going back against him in order to rectify the wrongs that he has done is justified, even if that winds up meaning that you are having to use force to prevent people from continuing their violations. In the case of people who you confront and then they shoot at you, like we just saw.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. Parasini, Noveria Internal Affairs.
What do you want?
The executive board knows about Anoleis' corruption. I've been undercover for 6 months. I want you to convince Keen to testify before the board. With his evidence, this planet can run profitably again.
You work for Anoleis. Can't you just take his records?
He's a crook, not a moron. He doesn't keep logs on his computer saying, "This month I stole 3 million credits." Keen's testimony and records are everything I need to prove Anoleis' guilt in one package.
Why don't you ask Keen directly?
I'm Anoleis' secretary. You'd think he'd believe me? That he'd meet me in some dark alley with his evidence?
You work for Anoleis. Can't you just take his records?
I already said that.
Keen's testimony and
I thought corruption was the rule on Noveria.
The rule is don't rock the boat. Self-interest is tolerated if it doesn't interfere with business. Anoleis is driving customers away.
I need Keen's garage pass to complete my mission.
You help my investigation, I'll provide whatever you need. Favor for a favor.
Seems we'd help more people if we did as she asks.
Look, Shepard, I don't like this either. You Spectres play fast and loose with the law. That's bad for business.
All right. I'll talk to Keen and see if I can convince him.
Thank you. You know where I work. Come talk to me once you know if he'll play ball.
WizKid says, I love how we're talking about legal principles like true libertarians. I am a true libertarian, more or less, so yeah, it's fair. I actually have I've done a lot of research in terms of, especially in terms of ethics, into libertarian legal principles, because it's actually quite useful in terms of determining just responses to aggression and stuff like that. Libertarian legal theory actually has a lot to say on that subject, and it does so quite usually quite consistently. Of course, there are some inconsistencies in some thinkers, but I think most of the contentions in libertarian legal theory come down to disagreements with metaphysical principles rather than legal principles. Right. I mean, the clearest example of this. Okay. The most important example of this, the broadest example of this, is how property rights are defined and acquired. So different theorists will say different things about that, and so it'll give you different results when you're trying to determine what the right thing to do is, or what property rights are and where. The probably most obvious place where this conflict shows up, where metaphysical principles wind up sort of conflicting and therefore become a bone of contention in libertarian circles, is the question of abortion. Because if, with exceptions, Walter Block being the only exception with his evictionism, which is its own thing, and I might wind up talking about that eventually, but in general, the question really just boils down to whose body, right? Is there an agent? Is there a rational agent in the womb whose rights are being violated by abortion or not? If so, then the child's property rights are being violated by abortion, like their right to life, their self-ownership, that kind of thing. But if not, then it's the woman's body and there's something in it and she can choose what to do with it. That's the contention. Once you settle that, then you're done. Of course, there is Walter Block's evictionism, which is its own sort of thing. I don't think that he's actually correct on it, obviously. I like some of Walter Block's points. He does carefully think through a lot of cases in legal theory, but again, he has some really, really bad principles from the outset. In particular, first of all, his account of aggression includes unintentional actions, that kind of thing, which is a big problem. It shouldn't. It should not include aggression. Should not include unintentional actions. Certainly can't. And then further, the other big problem is he is a huge fan of expiation or retributive justice. I don't know why. I have no idea what got that bee into his bonnet, but it is sure lodged in there pretty hard. WizKid, so I assume you're talking about the unborn embryo. Rational? No, not yet, but it is its own individual being with its own DNA, so that's irrelevant, I will say. Individual being is irrelevant. Lots of things are their own individual beings with their own DNA, so who cares? No, of course, I would very strongly argue, I have very strongly argued in other videos, and I'll actually put a link to that. Hold on. I'd point out, both from my own work and from what a lot of other really brilliant scholastic theologians and moral philosophers have done, that the organism is rational, right? The preborn human organism is rational in the relevant sense. Rational is not determined by one's what one actually does, the actualization of one's powers, but what powers that one's soul has. But I want to be careful that doesn't come off as begging the question. Soul just means the substantial form of something, right? What something is. So if something is of a certain type of thing, it has innately certain powers, whether it is capable of exercising those in this instance or not, right? To say that humans are bipeds is not disproven by paraplegics, right? A paraplegic is still a biped even if they're not capable of walking on two legs, right? And so a human being is rational even if they are or are not yet capable of abstract thought. They are still a rational creature.
Always a pleasure, Spectre. Any news on that matter I asked you to look into?
I finished the job, but an internal affairs investigator contacted me. She wants you to testify against Anoleis.
Now that you have my property, you want to dictate how I use it. I have no interest in a public spectacle.
Everyone on this station is chafing under Anoleis' extortion. You might end up a hero.
My employers rely on the goodwill of the executive board to work here.
The board is investigating Anoleis. They'll be more angry at him than at you.
All right. It is obvious that I cannot dissuade you. Very well. I will testify. Make whatever arrangements you need with your contact. I will wait here.
All right. And also, I like that Caden's the one who's like, yeah, this is really going to wind up helping more people if you do this. If you do it this way. It is far from the easiest way of getting the garage pass. Like, I think you can just get the garage pass if you rat out Opold to Anoleis. Anoleis will just give you a garage pass. So WizKid says, even if they aren't capable of thought, because it's part and parcel of their being, that they be rational. Interesting. Yeah, it's so if you want to get into the technical aspects of this, it's the difference between first potentiality, which is the innate capacity to do something, and then second potentiality, or virtual actuality, which is the power to do something, the real power to do something. And then finally, all right, there we go. Finally, the full or second actuality, which is the exercise of that power. I've mentioned this before in other lectures as well, probably in class. This might be familiar to Kylie. I'm not 100% sure, though, if I've actually gone into this. But in any case, right, so a good example of first and second potentiality is that I have the first potentiality to speak German. I do not, in fact, know how to speak German, but I have the potential to learn to speak German, right? I could speak German. There's nothing about my nature that prohibits me from learning to speak German. By contrast, though, I can speak, or at least read, Latin, right? I have the second potentiality to read Latin, or we might say the virtual actuality to read Latin. I'm capable of doing it. I have the actual power to do so. But I am, in fact, not. Right now, I'm not reading or saying anything in Latin. By further contrast, the full or second actuality, I have the full or second actuality of speaking English, because I'm not only capable of speaking English, I am, in fact, doing so. I'm exercising that power right now. Right? So we have this. So there's this three-stage process. The kind of creature that you're talking about is determined by the first potentiality. I don't think I talked about this in class. You're talking to a Polish girl. Oh, that's cool. Poland is barely part of Europe. Come on, they're the cool part of Europe. I may not have actually talked about that in our class. It wasn't actually part of the actual subject material. I thought I may have mentioned it at some point in tandem to something else. I know it's in one of my lectures somewhere. I'm gonna have to find it.
Greetings, Spectre. Have you brought the package?
Here you are.
The Spectre has done a great service for this one. From the deepness of light, it thanks you. This one promised compensation for services rendered. It humbly suggests that a sum of 250 credits would be most appropriate.
Would you have had any chance of getting this past customs without me? You can be a bit more generous.
The other's words possess the discomforting ring of truth. This one could raise the sum to 500 credits. That is half this one's profit taken by the other. It can offer no more.
That's thoughtful of you.
This one is glad to have come to an agreement.
I'm just browsing right now.
This one awaits your return.
Okay. So, Wizkid says, right, Poland is the most Murica part of Europe when it comes to mentality and not letting people fuck with people, and I love it. Is it? I mean, yeah, I guess probably. I don't think of Poland as the equivalent of European Murica, because I don't actually think of there being a European Murica. Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe Ireland, or the way Ireland used to be. They've been basically going to hell lately, but that's its own thing.
Spectre, have you given any more consideration to my offer?
It took some persuasion, but Keen has agreed to testify.
That's a world of stress off my back. I'll take the evidence for safe transport. I didn't think you'd help me, being a Spectre and all. I guess some of you can be alright.
Doesn't this help you? You don't seem particularly happy.
I'm ecstatic, but right now, I just feel like a long day of work is ending. While you were working on Keen, I got you a garage pass. Be careful up there. I have an arrest to make. Wish I had time to change into something easy to move in. I hate skirts.
This is an outrage. I'll see that you never work in this sector again.
Yeah, get a move on.
You, Shepard! I demand you place this bitch under arrest!
You have the right to remain silent. I wish to God you'd exercise it. See you around the galaxy, Commander. I owe you a beer.
I have no idea what the ominous music was about. Because, it seems like it's implying that will come back to bite you, and it definitely does not. Now can I go in your safe? Hey, look, I can. Alright. That's neat. Also, by the way, I did just recently realize that you can totally get them to literally kill each other. Intentionally or on accident. Like if at this point, instead of talking to her, I had gone and talked to Anoleis and tried to blackmail him, he comes out, starts shooting, and they shoot each other. Apparently. Did not know that. I'm going to... because I'm going over to Peak 15 now, and we're going to get there. We're not going to get too deep in this time. But we're at least going to get there, and into the first couple of rooms, the entrance, and that sort of thing. I'm going to go switch out Caden for Rex. Like I was saying, there are some important things for Rex here. He really should be in the party for the Peak 15 mission. But yeah. I feel like I should get into a habit of asking, what's everybody drinking? Because I've got I have a nice hazelnut coffee, because I always have a coffee while I'm playing. And also tonight I have a glass of blackberry Merlot from some incredibly bottom shelf winery that I never would have really considered, except it caught my eye in the store, and it is phenomenal. And I need to put up a recommendation of them, because it's amazing. It's actually phenomenal. It's much better than I ever could have had any right to expect from a $4 bottle of wine. But yeah, I highly recommend if you're into that sort of thing.
Decontamination in progress.
Okay.
Logged. The commanding officer is aboard. XO Presley stands relieved.
Man, I really feel bad because I'm about to literally leave right now. Kylie's having toasted coconut almond bark tea in my Harry Potter mug. And WizKid's cold chilled water, because I'm a basic bitch. Is it in a Hydro flask? Because if so, you're definitely a basic bitch. If not, maybe not. Yeah, I do. Like I said, I do kind of feel bad because Presley is just now you know, just relieved, and now, well, you're back in charge. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, no, it's I think it was like like 450. I underestimated. It was like 450. I don't remember what it was called. I will find out though. I might even put a picture of it somewhere if I can find one. If I can get one. It's good stuff. I do really recommend it especially if you like. I actually don't know exactly how to describe it. It's I'm not a wine snob, so I'm not an expert on such things, but it is a really nice balance between dry and fruity, which are usually stark opposites, but it does it manages to kind of strike a nice balance between the two. Now, ordinarily I also will have a glass of water, nice cold water, but I feel like just being dehydrated tonight, drinking alcohol and caffeine. Or it could be that I didn't think it through. That's the other possibility. All right.
These people will smile to your face while they stab you in the back.
Very true, Rex. Well said. Well said. Very well said. All right. So yeah, let's get to the garage, and we will head over to Peak 15. I don't know why Shepard is looking down and to the left. That's an animation glitch that happens on occasion, and I thought it happened more in Mass Effect 2, but I guess it happens here too. Actually, do you have anything new to say?
The Administrator's been arrested. Any chance you had something to do with that?
He was corrupt.
Most people here are. I wish you could take them all down. So what can I do for you today?
I have to go.
You need anything? I'll be here.
I like the New Yorker Turian.
Access to the garage is restricted.
I have authorization. Excuse me.
Yes, that's genuine. Drive safely. The weather's supposed to be pretty bad out in the Alutsk Valley.
Uh-oh.
So that's what the Asari had in the crypts.
I hate the little jumping bastards. There we go.
What the? What are these things? What did you do here, Commander?
The Geth ambushed us. We fought back. That's it.
Geth, you expect me to... Where did they come from?
The Asari bitch came with a bunch of cargo. They were probably packed in those.
I don't believe that. We did thorough scans of those. There were no power sources, no element zero masses. If Benezia Sama's containers were packed with these things, there are many more out there.
I need numbers, Captain. A dozen? 100?
Dozens, at least. They're machines. You could pack them tightly. I must report to the executive board. If word gets out about loose Geth, there may be an investor panic.
Okay. Can
I used to get a lot of free
no.
business here. Fastest way to climb the corporate ladder is to eliminate the guy above you.
Can I use this thing? I thought that was a thing you could do. I thought at some point you could blow this up. Actually, now that I think about it, that was just really rude just then, because that was just someone's fuel tank that I just shot. I feel bad. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Anyway. Okay. So, any other, if there are any other, particularly if there are any other questions about the reading group stuff, that is something I would love to address. I don't know if you guys have, any of you have had a chance to check that out yet, but hopefully it was accessible enough. I would certainly like feedback on whether I ought to go into more or less detail in my analysis. Because my method for that one, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, generally my method for it is to go through and to read through it, just read aloud, and then in between sections, or in between pieces, to try to explain what is being said. Right? To explain what is being said and then give any kind of commentary or further analysis based on my own reading, based on my own knowledge of the subject, that kind of thing. That's a lot of rockets. Oof, that's rough. There we go. WizKid says, how's that gonna work exactly? So my plan for now is to just have the discussion of it be in the comments. Long term, what I'd like to do is to do something like a weekly or so group chats to discuss what we went over in the most recent video or two. And so that can be that might wind up being through just through the new Facebook Rooms thing, which might be handy for that sort of thing. I've tried it out a little bit; it works decently. So that might be an option for it. So that might be cool. If especially if people would be interested in that sort of thing, then I'd like to do that sort of thing. So if enough people would be interested in doing that, that could be an option. Actually having real digitally face-to-face discussions, like it's a an ordinary academic reading group. The other alternative is for me to have the discussion up and then have a comment section for it. Whether we just leave that to YouTube, the YouTube comment section have forum style discussions, and or I do have a semi-functioning WordPress blog now, and I might be able to come up with a section there where people can leave more elaborate replies, so we can have a more robust discussion than just what's going to be able to be put into a YouTube comment section, which is pretty limited. Ooh, almost flew off the edge there. That's bad. So hopefully that's something like one or multiple of those options will work. Kylie says, what about Zoom? Yeah, Zoom's definitely an option. I do have access to the full version with unlimited participants and unlimited time frame through the university, so I can totally do that if enough people have it and would be willing and interested to do that sort of thing. Eventually, if it gets too unmanageable, I may wind up needing to limit it to. I'm not on Patreon, and I refuse to be, but something equivalent to patrons and active students. I mean, obviously, active students will always have my full attention. That's how that works. I am an actual professional educator, so that is how that works. But beyond that, that might be an option. Yeah, again, that's if it gets if the numbers just get unmanageable. If I get more than a classroom's worth at any given time, which I don't see happening in the immediate future. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, Kylie, if you are going to bed, then good night, and feel free to catch the rest of this discussion. This is going to be re-uploaded, so it will be up on YouTube to check out. If nothing else, I will certainly have the comments open on both YouTube and on the Facebook post for it, and I will be keeping a close eye on that, and I will be replying as best I can to any number of the posts, and hopefully that'll be a decent way of getting some conversations going, without having to worry about things like time preference, a coincidence of wants, having to basically schedule something where everyone who's interested can show up at the same time. That's the best part about forums, is that it's always there. That aside, though, the other option, like I said, is definitely I might be able to set something up on my my new WordPress blog. So that might work. That might be pretty decent. I'm going to see what I can do there. I'm probably going to have that set up once the entire series of SCOTUS videos is set up, and that should be just based on how much I got done in one half-an-hour vid. I'm going to be mostly doing them half an hour at a time, and so I expect there to be 3 to 5 of them, something like that. So Kelly says maybe have to sign up sheet for 25 people or less and then close off. I like how they fill classes. Yeah, that might work. But yeah, if that's all, then good night, and I will see you next time. See you tomorrow night, presumably, for Red Dead. I'm going to see. Yeah, actually, I can pretty much save here, so I'm going to save before we go into the facility. Because I want that to all be basically all be one mission, and I want to. Oh, hey, look, I haven't upgraded Rex yet, so I can talk a little bit more while doing that. Oh man, he needs stasis, but he also needs throw more. So, all right. But yeah, yeah, WizKid says it's nuts to me how some YouTubers just blow up exponentially, and others have only a handful of views. And either of those could swap spots at any time, even if they're of comparable quality. Yeah, 100%. I don't expect this YouTube channel to actually take off like that. I mean, I still have under 1,000 subscribers, last I checked, and I don't expect it to get too extremely higher than that. This is a really niche kind of thing that. Not all that many people are super interested in long-form discussions of in-depth philosophical topics. So if that is of interest to a ton of people, more than I could ever expect, then neat. I'd be happy to have millions of subscribers. I wouldn't mind, but yeah, I have no expectation of anything like that based on what kind of content I produce. It's not the kind of thing that I would expect to draw that kind of level of interest. But yeah, anyway, I do think I am going to wrap it up there, like I said. So I also want to double check and make sure my mods are working off stream, because there is a very well-known video glitch in this facility that basically makes it unwatchable, and that would be unfortunate because it's a really cool sequence. So I want to try and make sure that that's fixed off stream. So between now and next week, hopefully everything will work just fine. If not, then I will fix it before next week. If so, awesome. We will pick up right here next time. With that, though, WizKid says, it feels more like a hobby to you, but it's cool because we can have really intimate discussions from far away. Yeah, I would say it's a hobby to me, but I also do legitimately do this professionally. So it's somewhere in between a hobby. The gaming part's a hobby. But the other half of it is that I I guess the other half of it is the idea of how do I put this? That it's part of my teaching catalog, if you want to think of it that way. This is part of my I mean, to be fair, not the gaming streams stuff, but the other stuff, the actual video lectures, that is just part of my online teaching, which I actually do professionally. So it's just I have it up here for everybody because I don't like the idea of limiting knowledge in the ivory tower of academia. I just don't like that. It rubs me the wrong way. So anyway, with that, I'll leave us with a little something inspirational that's allegedly from Dr. Jordan Peterson, and then we'll call it a night.
It's never too late to get your shit together.